else, but you're getting the up close and personal, you're getting the pictures that are right there.
Yeah, they're right.
To each markings, you had both throats slit, it's just brutal stuff. And it's what I've said from the beginning when I came on, just to this case, that everybody's got to realize how real this is. It's not a joke. It's real life. And, tragic. It's tragic is what it is.
Yeah. Your thing just popped up. Live with Sunny talking about the Delphi murder trial.
Oh, that's cool. Isn't that cool? See? Yeah. I'm hanging here, though. They could chat. If anybody goes on, they could chat amongst themselves, like Carol's. Yeah. But it's just good to bring extra eyes. Who knows,
Yeah.
So,
that's what it's all about.
I wanted to ask you this. I saw a funny TikTok of a certain guy sleeping under a blanket on the court steps. A guy who supposedly has a warrant. Did you see that?
Oh, I didn't, but I know.
Yeah, it's on there. Yeah, it's. Anthony. I cannot believe that he's able to just walk in there freely with a warrant. I just never heard of such a thing. Never. It can happen in different states. They know him. He has an active warrant, and it's just very weird. Very weird stuff.
Yeah.
It's weird all the way around. I don't know. I just don't know what's going on in this world, Hey, Mr. Hope you're doing well. I really don't. It's just Indiana is just backwards. I feel bad for people that live there. If you're not in the, the good old crew, you're out,
Yeah.
But I did want to say this. Listen, we want somebody to be convicted, but we also, we want a fair trial. And there's just weird things all around on this case. Double murder, 2 different knives, no DNA from Rich Allen on the scene.
Let's talk about that, because today you guys really was there wasn't a lot of, again, to anyone that's followed this case, it's not like there was a bunch of new information out. It was really about talking about the sticks and the guns, if the police officers, what guns that they have, blocks, about the, basically the crime scene area, the clothes. So we got to learn more about the clothes, what other clothes were there in the water and stuff like. Oh, there she is.
She is. We learned a lot about what we knew, but we also hear the mistakes they made. They didn't take the sticks until I think it was March 2nd or March 3rd.
I think it was actually 3 days later. I believe that one was sticks.
No, it said March 3rd. That's what the reporter said.
Oh, okay.
I think the bullet was taken a couple days later.
Okay, so maybe that's right, because the one channel, Laura Lee, said she couldn't remember. She wrote down 3 days, and then she also wrote down March, whatever. So, yeah, exactly.
We would have said, listen, I don't, my issue is that I don't believe they locked the crime scene down correctly from the beginning. It was stomped on. It was, it's contaminated. If you want to say that, it's contaminated. Right. There's just so many little minute things that go a long way when you're prosecuting somebody.
Right.
When you get a plea deal case, it's not a big deal. But when you're prosecuting somebody, you need to be up and up.
Yeah. Well, sorry, Charmaine, what?
Did you say that they went back and collected the sticks in March? Because I didn't hear that part.
I have it from the reporter I sent you, Sonny, from, I think she's from WHDR, maybe K, whatever her name is. She said, I believe it was March 2nd or March 3rd. It was said today that they went back and took the sticks. I mean, they didn't even. Did they even collect leaves that had blood on it? I mean, every blood droppings would be important here, because you don't know if just one of those leaves would have the perpetrator's blood on it. It's just, it's a head scratcher is what it is.
I heard that one of the witnesses, one of the investigators today testified that they didn't see any evidentiary value in collecting those sticks right away.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, think about how stupid that sounds. Just think about how stupid that sounds. It just shows you that. And I know you played the one clip, Sonny, but I have the other clip from that debate where Tony Liggett basically says, we're 13 officers from sheriff down. On a good day, they have he was the assistant sheriff or whatever it was, and then you had Tobe. The 2 of them would be in the office or farting off all day, and then you had 2 road guys. But if they needed a prisoner transport, one of those road guys had to go off the road and do it. So where is their investigative? That's what you would call reactive policing. You're reacting to something. There's no proactive policing there. It's just bananas. It's so frustrating. So frustrating.
Unreal.
Yeah, it is. It is unreal. It's freaking crazy if you think about it. It really is. A true head
Anything,
scratcher.
yeah, anything that would touch a victim or
seconds.
that a perpetrator would have touched, you'd think that automatically an investigator would see evidentiary value in whatever that item is. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
just common sense.
Common sense.
Yeah, common sense really went out the window. You know, when you think about it, it really went out the window.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why the defense was like, so, you know, why didn't you collect the sticks? And again, no evidentiary value, they figured, type of thing. And he's like, well, do you know if the killer was wearing gloves? And he's like, I don't know. And he's going, that's my point. So if there's skin cells on the sticks, then, you know, why wouldn't you collect them? Because you don't know if he had gloves on or not. So that part to me is just,
Yeah, the whole thing is just it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. It doesn't make sense. It's inept policing. They really, honestly, should have turned it over to the state right when they found the girls. But Tobe didn't want to relinquish power. It's power. Like think of Doug Carter about talking about power. The power was with Tobe. He had the final say in everything. You know, everything that went on, he had the final say. It doesn't matter. Doug Carter has the more experience. He has the more veteran detectives. They could say what they'd like to do, but at the end of the day, they're on the task force, and the lead in the task force is Tobe.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, don't forget, like, from quite a while back, what was it? The sheriff, or what do you got? It's not the sheriff. Anyways, the head,
what are you talking about?
Head guy of Lafayette, he had said that it's all about egos.
Yeah, it is. But that's 80s. That's the 1980s.
Yeah.
They're policing like it's the 1980s still.
Yeah.
You know, where everything's up to the minute now. I still don't understand why they didn't have canines come from Indianapolis that night. The Indy PD has dogs on duty.
Oh yeah.
Instead, they went and reached out for out-of-state dogs to come the next day. Then they called them off. It's just the whole thing is bananas.
I almost forgot about that, actually.
Which part?
I almost forgot about them calling off the dogs.
Yeah, calling off the dog. You never heard of such a thing. And yeah, I'm not a beer. Diet Dr. Pepper. Phenomenal. Great soda.
So, Charmaine, what did you want to ask CD? You wanted to pick his
brain. Mostly just his perspective on this stuff, because obviously we know the investigation was so botched, but like, what is the most outrageous thing that you've heard about this investigation? Because I truly think it's going to end up costing them this conviction. I do.
It's compounded from the beginning. You know, the detective that was on something with a G. What was his name today? He was the first witness today.
Gagliola.
Yeah, he's an Italian guy. He was the first detective on scene. Yeah, they roped it off 30 feet, but how long after he got there? How many witnesses were there? That should have been immediately locked down. Every one of those people that were there that witnessed it should have been separated so they're not talking to each other. And then you get statements from each one of them. What they did. Did you touch a stick? Did you, correctly done. I mean, I learned it before I even became a cop, and when I was taking criminal justice courses. You know, we took, in order to get your degree, you'd have to take like supervision courses and everything else, and just how to lock down a crime scene properly. They didn't do it right. I mean, it's sad to say, and I never like bashing law enforcement. I don't.
I know.
But this is just
it's outrageous.
Man,
and if you think
it's a fuck job is what it is. When it just is the whole thing all the way around.
Let alone not even just not taking pictures, but when's the last time you saw no crime scene video being taken in this day and age? You know, the collecting of the bullet. And
yeah, glad you brought that up, because I'll tell you a case I had, right? Remember, Sonny, I was talking to you before, Messer. I told you about the guy we had to keep in our cells. We couldn't transport him to jail because there was a hit out on him. So he spent months in our cells. So when we locked somebody else up, they'd be put next to him in the cell. And one night he's like, I gotta speak to that detective. You know, he's talking about me. So I went in there and he goes, listen, I got to tell you what happened. So we removed him. We brought him into the booking room, and he tells me how the guy that we arrested a little while ago actually had drugs down his pants in his ass. And when he was handcuffed, somebody who was supposed to be watching him, he took them out, dug them, and he put them in the dirt. So now we had to go there. We had to process that whole scene, had a video camera set up as soon as we got out of the cars. you have to do it all properly. Every inch we moved to the dirt, there were pictures taken to where we found all the bags and a massive load of heroin that he dug up and put there. Because if we didn't do it right, he wouldn't be able to charge that. And that's the same thing with this, magic unspent round.
Yeah.
That I believe is just their Hail Mary that's not going to stick.
Yeah.
Just
I think back to even like in the 70s, John Wayne Gacy, they videotaped every minute of that excavation of the crawl space back in the 70s.
So I mean, that's what you're supposed to do.
Like 2017, they didn't do it there. Like, unbelievable.
Even when they took the sticks, I don't believe they recorded taking the sticks.
No.
I've heard. And you're talking about leaving them out in the cold, in rain, snow, whatever happened in those 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The perp's DNA could have been on that in a blood droplet.
Right.
And we're hearing, like we said from the beginning with everybody, they moved the bodies at night. Come on, nonsense. Massive amount of blood at the scene in different spots. How do you not take every bit of that? Leaves everything, everything. You shovel it up. You pack. This is just inept crime scene. It just is. It's inept.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Jermaine.
Let me just say this too. And then you go to the confessions and you see that in his confessions, he talked about shooting both the girls in their backs.
Mm-hmm.
We know that. And then about burying them in shallow graves. And then, assaulting both of them. Didn't happen. None of that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So was it because they broke him mentally and he just said anything? That happens. I know people don't want to believe it does, but it does happen. I had a guy who stayed with us for months and he lost his mind. He was treated amazing. The guy, we got him lobster after he helped us with that arrest. We fed that guy great. But this is somebody who they broke, and they broke him good.
What about I heard something today about they didn't take the internal core temperature because they didn't want to disturb any physical evidence that could have been on the body. That doesn't make sense to me either. So
they're basically saying that because they didn't have the proper timing of death and they just had to make something up. Let's be honest. That's what it comes down to. They just needed a reasoning to say why they didn't do something.
Yeah, it's almost like they're shining their own shit, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Like, really.
Yeah. Sonny, that's what they're at. I'm sorry to say it. I know there's people that are so pro, we need a conviction, but you want a conviction that's legit. That's real. You want the person that really did this to be charged. And I'm not saying that he didn't do it. I'm just saying it needs to be fair. It needs to be fair.
Yeah.
Now they're trying to throw out some geofencing and stuff. Why do you think the prosecution wants to throw that out and not let it be put in trial?
Right.
There's
geofencing
a lot
of the other people.
Of him. No, of Richard Allen's phone, I believe it's about.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's just the shit piles high. It does. It piles high.
Yeah.
Miss Doglover said, I have to say that I'm concerned RA will get off. Well, Miss Doglover, it's hypothetical. What if he didn't do it and he got off? Just saying. Just saying. You want somebody convicted who did this. Mm-hmm. Not just and I truly think that the tip did not come from what's her name finding it. I believe it came from that debate night. Because it all fits with the timeline. Mm-hmm. Who doesn't call back a retired detective from Peru who has a possible tip? Nobody called him. Mm-hmm. Tobe didn't call this guy back. Why not? Were they just trying to cover their ass because the election was coming up? Probably. Because how bad would that look? That it took 2 months for this guy to show up at a debate to ask a question on an open mic, for everybody to know that a retired guy from Peru didn't get an answer back. It's bananas.
Unbelievable.
And they're just covering their ass. They're just saying whatever they can to just stay face. I mean, let's be real.
What I noticed that lawyer Lee said was basically, I think she said that, what was it that fell flat on the defense? Was it? It was about the bullet, about the about the, what do you call it again? Sorry.
The collection?
Yeah, like
when they were collecting it? The striation marks? I don't know which part are you talking about it.
No, the part where the police pick it up.
That they didn't process it correctly.
Right. And so when I was watching Lori Lee on this, she said that basically.
Sorry, how's that? But think about that. How is that possible? What are they doing over there? Like, realistically, what the hell's going on?
Well, true. But,
it's crazy.
Well, it is, but so what she had said was that it almost fell flat on the juries, the defense trying to make that almost like bigger than what it was about the, like I said, the transferring of the bullet and whatever.
Yeah, but if they didn't transfer custody correctly,
Right.
that's a problem.
Well, that's the thing.
That's a problem. Yeah, everything has to be done correctly. So say you're a detective and I open it. We're going to document I opened it, right? And then I gave you custody and you resealed it. That's going to be documented. Every step of that, when you take evidence, every step wherever that bag is going is documented. Everybody entering the crime scene from when it's locked down is documented and what their role is. I don't think that was done. That's batshit. You know what I'm saying? That's batshit. You just had cops that didn't need to be in the exact ground zero crime scene are walking around. What the hell are we doing? It's crazy.
And I'd like to say too, like last night I said, like my prediction is that he'll be convicted or whatever, but I do think that he'll win a new trial on appeal or a hung jury and he'll get a new trial. But you can't. There's no possible way you can fix this investigation. So it's just going to be
think
the
about
same
it, right?
thing
Think about this. What do they have right now?
Right.
That's going to put them over the hump. What do they have? Do they have something we do not know yet? I don't think they do.
I don't think they do either. I really don't.
And sees through, victims can be left at a scene for a very long time. You know, sometimes a day, whatever it takes to get the crime scene totally done before you're moving that body because you can't put it back. You know, I had a guy that was, I told this story where one son who was in his early 50s, I want to say, killed his mom and his brother on Thanksgiving weekend. And wrapped mom up in a rug and threw her in an old tub in the basement, and then waited like 12 hours for his brother to come home from working at the post office and shot him in the face with a shotgun. Disgusting scene. And then he took his brother in like one of those old freezers and snapped him into the thing by his legs, like snapped him in half, basically. Yeah, it was freaking brutal. But yeah, they were both there for a long time because it was a lot to process. But that's the whole thing. You want it done right because you want the conviction at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And when did they take Abby and Libby out of there? Were they out of there on the 14th?
Yeah.
I think there was like 12 hours, right? I think they were there 12 hours after they were found, about roughly. I mean, you had the morgue, the morgue guys pulling up. I think it was 12 o'clock.
12, right? Around 12, yeah.
And think about, right, the county buildings are pretty close by. They're there within 5 minutes. They're working, they're right there. So they came right away. But yeah, they're going to do their own, when they, the hell's their names? Why am I drawing a blank? What's the guy's name from the morgue?
Coroner?
Yeah, Coroner. There we go. Coroner's van pulls up. They're going to do their own initial investigation before they move anything.
Right. So they're the ones, aren't they the ones that are supposed to be doing the core temperature and all that kind of stuff? I
mean, law enforcement has nothing to do with that. That's totally the coroner. Law enforcement, you're not touching the body unless you have to ID the person. They have a wallet in their pocket. You're not doing any of that right at the beginning. Now they're saying something different because the defense can't say, well, you said this.
It'll be interesting to hear what the coroner has to say.
What's he talking about? Which part is he talking about? I'm confused by that comment.
So think about all that they said, and now they're saying, oh, yeah, I think he's talking about the missing 70, like all the missing evidence.
I mean, that's another thing. Like, how do you lose all these different pieces of evidence and documentation, data? Like, what's going on over there? Like, honestly, I don't know how this case didn't bring the feds in to look at how they're handling things, because that's usually what happens.
Well, they kick the feds out.
Well, no, when they come in to make sure that things are going, you can't kick them out at that point. They tried to keep the FBI away from when the girls were found. Remember that audio transmission? Like, basically keep them away.
Yeah.
What? You don't want the help? What? It's just, there was a big power trip with this, and that's just what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Big power trip.
Hey, Chaotic. Chaotic put out her Halloween video.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she put out her Halloween, and it was the first time I actually seen the outside of the home.
Really? Very nice.
Normally I keep seeing the inside and get jelly, but today she put out the outside. I seen on her video. But so yeah, check that out, you guys, on Chaotic's channel there. Her Halloween, and then I think in her description it said something like, you know, like this isn't just for Halloween. My place looks like this pretty much throughout the year.
Yeah.
You know,
Sorry.
I'm hearing myself.
Yeah, that was me hitting mine to see who was in this chat on my side.
On the,
See who's
okay.
here.
No, but 1 second. Let me just quickly play 1 second. Susan Hendricks, because she put this out not too long ago on there. Let's just see what she had to say. Hold on.
In Delphi, Indiana, day 3 of the murder trial, and we just got out of court a short time ago. The judge let us break for lunch, and it was a long morning, a difficult one. So I decided to come to the Abby and Libby Memorial Park. It's come so far since I was here last. You could see the amphitheater behind me. I love seeing the bricks that people were able to kind of leave messages through the years for families. And let's take a look at a few here. And loving memory is one of them. Never give up. Don't ever give up for them. Love and improvement. These are messages that I'm sure everyone needs today after being in that courtroom, especially the families. Today was a day where the crime scene investigator spent most of the morning on the stand talking about what he saw, the evidence he gathered through many exhibits, many pictures on the screen that included crime scene photos. And you can hear about what happened and imagine what happened, but when you see it, it is excruciating. And my heart goes out to the families of Abby and Libby today. What I also thought he was trying to establish through the many exhibits was just the terrain and how difficult it would have been that day for the searchers that morning on February 14th and the evening before to see the bodies of Abby and Libby. Because that is what is being argued by the defense, that nobody saw the girls and therefore they must have been moved the night before. I believe that's part of their defense. But right now I'm at the Abby and Libby Memorial Park, kind of walking around, taking a breath and taking time to see what has been built since I've last been here. And of course, wearing the Abby and Libby bracelet. Abby and Libby. But I will say it's tough being in there, and I'm happy I get the chance to be in there. But I'm also my heart breaks for the family.
Okay, so I want to talk about that. Susan Hendricks, of course, but I want to talk about that. About I personally, I find it kind of a little somewhat delusional that people actually think that they could have seen the bodies from at the end of the south of the bridge, looking over there, knowing that it's on flat land and it's further in, but she's wearing black, meaning Abby, and blue, and Libby's naked. So like, meaning for someone to even like, it's not like they were looking for 2 dead girls at this point. But they were just looking, trying to find where the girls were, doing a search. But I personally don't believe that you would have been able to see. In hindsight, people are like, yeah, I can see that crime scene area. But like I said, they're down in the leaves, in the flat land of it. Do you guys personally believe that, like, oh, that they should have seen them, you know, and stuff like that,
No.
that particular day? I personally don't, but
now after today, after hearing about all of the clothes that were found in the creek and just on the bank, I feel like searchers at least might have or should have.
They wouldn't.
I
How would
shouldn't
they?
even
How
say
would they?
should have.
How would they
Yeah.
see the girls though? Up, they're up on an embankment.
Yeah, no.
You know, it's very
No.
hard. You know.
Yeah.
That's just
But the
people
clothes that
pulling
were
at
in the
straws.
creek, yeah.
but they
Clothes that
didn't.
were in the creek, I think they should have noticed that.
I don't see how though, because they didn't search that way. They like if I pull
Yeah,
up,
no, that's
Well, they
the
didn't.
point
They weren't
too,
on the
though.
other
They
side of the
should have.
creek. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's
Like-
private property, so they couldn't just go up on the property. But yeah, I mean, on the bank itself, you could see from the other side. So I mean,
Yeah.
they did look from there, but they're not going to see the bodies up on the embankment. That's just
No.
people picking on shit, you know.
but
Mhm.
even the here, let me just go to it. But even the clothes. So of course the bridge is here. Their search was mostly around here, this section, and they were searching this way. They were going downstream. Now the clothes would have been over here. So I know that the end of the bridge is here, on there. But again, they were kind of submerged in the water as well. So it's not like they were treacherying down over here. If they were probably over here, they would have seen them. But they kind of went here. And then there was like this area down right near the bridge there where that's kind of where they're talking about. And I know that Julie Melvin has put up pictures of that where you can see like the slide marks of that, like as if like when you go down a hill and then the dirt's there and the leaves are kind of pushed to the side type of thing. So it's one of those things is that any of the people that were looking for the girls that day, didn't deem them as murdered, first of all, but it's kind of like it was getting dark out when they realized that, hey, okay, the girls didn't show up. Now people are starting to come and help throughout the time. But it's like February 13th. It's getting dark out, probably around 5 o'clock, 5:30. It's probably getting to the pitch dark point. And that's just the thing is that if that area wasn't looked at until the 14th, on the next day when they came across them, but not the day before. So I don't myself see that if they're kind of submerged in the water, even if it's whatever, like I don't think it's something that they could have noticed at that point. Because if they did, they obviously would have found the girls or yeah. So.
Yeah, and you're right. They were looking downstream because the worst case scenario in their minds, I think, was that they were injured or something, and
yeah, and that they fell off the bridge.
Yeah,
and of course, if they went anywhere, it would be downstream, not upstream.
Yeah.
So.
And it's so sad to think that Mike was, in a canoe going down the creek, just in the wrong direction. And Derek was right out there and didn't hear or see anything. It's just heartbreaking.
So exactly. And had they been going upstream, which in a canoe, good fight, but had they been going upstream and stuff like that way, I'm sure that they would have come across it that night if they were actually focused on looking at that. But it wasn't an area. And like, it's just that a lot of people keep saying that, from the end of the bridge that they should have seen them. But,
very hard.
First of all, hindsight's always 20/20. And it's easy to know when you know where the crime scene was, all of a sudden director, you know what I mean? And go, oh, I can see everything there. But
yeah, they're nitpicking, let's be honest.
So
they're nitpicking.
So I don't.
Yeah, come on. You heard how much blood was there. What could have been moved that night? You think about it, though. Oh, so you don't think that you don't think the girls were moved? All that blood and everything else, and we knew that from Ron Logan's search, his search warrant that day. And the search warrant at his house.
That's right.
Blood was everywhere at the crime scene. There's just no way. It's at this point, it's crazy if anybody's still running with that part. At least, I mean, it's just. You're at the trial. They're telling you this is where it was. It is what it is.
I think that the phone, they said, I believe in that defense, that whole big work of art, 135-page thing. They said that the phone was underneath the backside of Abby. But the way I heard it today, it sounded like when they rolled Abby over, it was, what was the casing of it? It was, you guys, what was the casing? They said it was like, like a cartoony thing or whatever. And
that was you mean that was on the case?
Yeah. But it sounded like it almost sounded like, and correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, but it sounded like that the phone was more like where the shoe, like the leg was down near the bottom.
Maybe it could be up the thigh area. I mean, underneath is underneath. I don't know. I didn't hear that.
Yeah, she could have said it wrong. I mean, Laura Lee could have said it wrong because in the thing I remember it saying that it was underneath the low part of the back of Abby, the phone and the shoe.
He's right when he said that though about the two deers. That wasn't brought up yet, right?
Yeah, the two deers.
Yeah, saw it through the camera, then noticed the girls. We didn't hear that part. That is true.
Yeah.
So does that mean it's not that it didn't happen that way?
Most likely it didn't happen that way, but that's what was said for 7 years.
7 years, yeah.
Yeah. CD, this one's mind fucking me, and I'm sure it's mind fucking you guys and everybody
Which part?
else. Okay. Abby having on Libby's pants and Libby's, okay, so she had on her own shirt, but she had on Libby's Delphi swimming. Well, we all know it's Kelsey's, but Libby was wearing it. So Libby's pants, Libby's black jacket. Make sense of that for me. How there's always,
to me, that's staging.
Right. But like what? Like, so it's kind of like, why? So like, if there's all these clothes in the north side of the crime scene in the water there, and there was a bunch of clothes in there, more than what we actually knew.
Yeah.
Now, but it's just like, why treat Libby like the way he did, leaving her nude and just all her wounds, and then you see Abby that is covered up in Libby's, like, what would, it doesn't make sense. Like,
it could be just out of gas personally. You know, the adrenaline could have just slumped, and that was all they had. You would have
to dress her to put those pants on.
No, definitely did. You did.
You know?
And why even what? So apparently the jeans that were found in the creek, we found out today, the underwear was in them, so they were kind of like taken off, maybe by the perpetrator himself. But what would be the point if he's just gonna put Libby's clothes back on her? I could see it because both pairs of jeans are soaking wet, and Libby's were a lot smaller and tighter, and that would be impossible to do. But then he also put on her shoes, like Abby's shoes.
You know what bothers me about that whole thing with just the changing of the clothes and stuff like that? Usually the person that does this has a history of this going back years, decades, if you're in your 40s. And we don't have that here, you know, which is kind of strange to me.
And they're saying there was no essay or whatever, and we haven't heard from the medical examiner yet. But then everybody's.
But that's what it's going to be. They're not going to say that, and then have the coroner come up and say something different.
Yeah.
So that's probably what it is. You know, which it's just weird. This case has been weird from the beginning. It's probably what drew so much attention from all of us.
Yeah.
And another good point. Another good point that was brought up today is, like, people were saying that, or they were saying the last day of trial that he was interrupted. He was going to have his way with them, but he got interrupted. But he wasn't interrupted enough to not put Libby's clothes on Abby. You know, so that right there doesn't make sense, and they're contradicting themselves in a way. Like, it's still very confusing.
It is. Just read this from Bob Siegel. He said, this point 7, the point of today's testimony wasn't just to show jurors the crime scene pics, but to allow investigators to explain how and where they collect evidence at ground zero where the bodies were found. So that just gives you a little bit of what they were trying to display today.
Yeah. Let me just quickly answer this one just so I can get it off the screen.
Yeah.
So Michelle, back when I first ever followed the case, what was that guy's name that had that whole website out?
Yeah, wasn't it Devil something?
Okay, well, no. So Devil's whatever. Yeah, he had the video footage of from the crime scene, because basically there was this point in the video that ended up getting blacked out later by the news, but at the time it hadn't been. And so he had captured the kind of like the crime scene photo. So that actually stuffed animal stuff, that actually started from that video, and from who's the guy that had the blog, that one that everyone hated? Robert Lindsay. Right. So forever and a day I was using like the video and stuff like that. So I actually didn't start no stuffed animal thing myself, but it was clear that it did look like some sort of stuffed animal. Like that's what it seemed like. Hindsight has told me the manipulation that you get now off of distorting or going through pictures and adding to them, because obviously most everything that I thought was there wasn't even there. And it was like, okay, there's a big learning curve. But it was one of those things that's kind of like the only real thing we had to even try to examine was that video, and it clearly looked like it was some sort of big stuffed animal bunny, but it just goes to show you in hindsight how delusional things can be to your eyes, and what you think you're seeing you're not actually seeing. And multiple things, once you get to see somewhat of the crime scene, and we only seen a few pictures, you're like, damn, like there was like nothing there that I could relate to with the actual video that came up. Devil's Hop Yard, I think it was.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was it.
But anyway, so I mean, there wasn't any. That was something that was long started before me. But in saying that, it was the only video that I could dissect myself and try to understand that they're saying that there's this smiley blanket here and this, like some crazy shit there too. But at the end of the day, it just goes to show in hindsight how, let me put it this way, I have no problem learning lessons about shit as long as it makes me live and learn from experiences about calling somebody out, then, type of idea that you think you're doing the right thing and then realize how much you can fuck up somebody's life by doing shit like that. But as for the crime scene stuff in itself, yeah, it just goes to show me from someone that didn't really know how to say, like, I was never sitting there, this photographer going, oh yeah, it was just a matter of like, oh, can I zoom this in? Can I make something out? But hindsight shows that it just is absolutely what your eyes are seeing and what's actually there. Two absolutely different things.
And it was Sergeant from ISP, Sergeant Dwayne Datsman, who we determined the sticks were of no evidentiary value, but then they went back and collected them.
Are you reading that from somebody's thing?
Yeah, from Kyle Russell.
Oh, okay. I'm kind of like way behind here, so sorry guys if I'm passing off.
No.
Is he still a active investigator? Because you would think.
No, he's retired.
Oh,
he's retired. A lot of them are retired. It's just it's I don't know.
I mean, and
Darren Giancola, he was a deputy, not a detective. Deputy.
I feel like if I was an investigator and going through and looking at all the missteps and all the mistakes that I've made, I'd want to rethink my career choice at some point, like, because this was bad. This was bad.
Yeah, very bad, very bad. Yeah, all the way around, all the way around. It's tough, and I gave them the benefit of the doubt for years, and it's just can't make mistakes like this.
Yeah.
You can't make it's just all the way around. It's everywhere, Yeah. I would love to hear some of their, I hope they get to play some of the interrogations they did, if they got anything that they're going to play, and just hear how that was handled.
Right back.
They lost quite a few of the interrogations, though.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they
whatever.
did. Yeah, it didn't record. Yeah, usually you're recording in two separate places to make sure there's no issue. But they don't do that there, boy.
Yeah, so I wonder if, I'm sure they've got some, and even some of the depositions, I think, didn't get recorded or didn't get turned over or something, I'm hearing. So, I mean.
Text Charm says, sticks and limbs of trees were just for hiding and covering the girls. Yes, but you still could have DNA. You could have a blood droplet from the killer. It's crazy that they left them there, but they did.
Yeah, handling that many sticks out in the woods, who's to say the guy didn't get a sliver or something, right? And they weren't small little twigs, right? They were actual branches. So
branches. Yeah.
He clearly touched them with a gloved hand or not. You could get fiber evidence off gloves. Like, you never know.
Yep. Also, I'm just reading Kyla's update from the morning. She said the first witness called by the state was Deputy Darren Giancola. He was the first deputy to arrive on scene after the girls' bodies were found. Then came at least 42 graphic photos of the crime scene. They were taken by ISP CSI Josh Page. Below are my observations. We know that Libby was nude. Clothes looked damp. There were at least 4 bloodstains on the ground or nearby tree. Libby had sniffed of blood on her hand's neck. Abby also had bloodstains, not as many as Libby. Branches were placed on top of the girls, more so on Libby. Libby's mom and sister were visibly emotional. Richard Allen's mom and stepdad were holding hands as photos were shown. Richard Allen did not have much reaction to the photos, and he's told not to react. That's just what he's told by his defense. so they could document all they want on how he's going to respond. But he has to be, it's just they don't want him showing anything. There were at least 3 large, long branches covering Libby in the triangle formation. The branches were at least 2 to 3 times the size of Libby, so they were pretty big. That's at least 10 feet to 15 feet in length. So they weren't small.
Right. There's something else I wanted to ask you, and I'll think of it here.
And then what did she say for the nightly recap? Did she give a nightly recap? It's great to see, just a recap from different minds and seeing how they accepted what they saw. And that's where she said, we determined the sticks were of no evidentiary value. Now retired ISP Sergeant Dwayne Datsman. Do you know if a R kit was given? Brad Rosie said, I would assume I wasn't there. ISP Sergeant Jason Page said. Both had a large laceration on their throat. Both had substantial amount of blood on their person and underneath. Deputy Darren John Cola. Her clothes were damp. The clothes seemed damp, ISP Sergeant Page said. So that's her part from the afternoon after lunch.
So, and something else I heard today was actually a few of the lawyers that I like to watch, they're still not convinced that the crime didn't happen where it was, because they're saying that blood doesn't soak into the ground as quickly as one might think. Is that accurate? Like, is it because there's something like 6 or 7 liters of blood in a human body, whatever, and they were so pale and they lost a lot of blood, but not the amount of blood found at the crime scene wasn't enough to say that that's where the crime happened, is what these people are saying.
I don't know who's saying that, because everywhere, since even from Ron Logan's, I mean, I took it as this is church. This is where it happened.
Yeah,
this is where it happened. I mean, there's no way you're gonna in a barn and get them there, and all this blood loss is going to be there on the scene.
Right, but does blood saturate into the ground or not?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Of course it does. Of course it does.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought so.
Yeah,
I thought
but it's going to be pooled there. You're going to, and it thickens up. It's depends on the outside temperature too. But this what they're saying is where it happened.
Mm-hmm. And when a human body is, I guess, the blood isn't pumping anymore, it doesn't really matter how much blood they've lost. They're gonna go pale and then gray, and then
yeah.
If you're
remember
alive,
something too, when it first happens and your heart's still pumping, it
comes out faster. Yeah, but what I'm saying is, once your heart stops beating, it doesn't matter if there's still blood in your. Well, I don't know.
Whoever's saying that is just doing it just for views and whatnot. Yeah. It just doesn't make sense. It's stupid, is what it is.
And that actually shocked me, because to me, they were pretty responsible. They weren't the regulars looking for clicks and views.
Everybody has views that are somewhat out there, and they're going to stick with it.
What CD? What about this one? Do you think that the handkerchief that they found in the creek with the clothes is what the BG used to cover his face? Because if so, they can extract DNA out of the objects that have been under the water now.
They could, but it could be also how long it was under the water. But think about it. If it's over his mouth, there's going to be a lot of spit on it. There's going to be a lot of DNA left behind.
Yeah. Wow. So but we don't know. Like, so would you think that the handkerchief would be his, or do you think it was something Abby or Libby had instead?
If it's right near those clothes, I mean, it's highly likely it would be the killer's handkerchief. We haven't heard anything that the girls had a I mean, that would be
I haven't heard anything
obvious to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, when I heard the word handkerchief too, I was like, well, I mean, we didn't get to see, of course, we got to see Abby on the bridge, but we never got to see Libby. But
and also blood loss, it really depends on the injury too, and how much blood you're going to have. Mm-hmm. I've had suicides where they used a small caliber handgun and it wasn't that bloody. Mm-hmm. So where I've had heads blown off. I mean, it depends. It really depends on
An handkerchief or bandana?
They said handkerchief.
But the people that actually saw the exhibit as it was being held up described it as a bandana.
Did they?
Yeah.
Why Sharon? Did Sharon say, who said that? Somebody said that Ben. Well, I thought she was helping prosecution. Why would Richard Allen's daughter help the prosecution? I didn't hear anything of that.
I didn't either.
Says the defense. Oh yeah, it has been said about that she was going to help the prosecution, but
was she being called a witness by the prosecution? That's a lot different than helping.
It could have just simply been a rumor, to be honest.
But it also could be that they had planned to call her, and that doesn't mean that she's helping. It just means that they want to grill her a little bit.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so no ties to CP, no ties to anyone in the case, no digital or actual connection to the girls whatsoever, no DNA, no fibers, no nothing, and he committed this like a ninja. Somebody explain this.
I mean, be honest, he's right though. I mean, does anybody not see it? It's weird. I know,
that's what's crazy. You know, it's honestly so.
I mean, blood gets very slippery. You know, well, you're making it seem the way it's being portrayed is like he was an assassin. You know, and everything was done perfectly. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's just odd.
Is it the sloppiness of the collection and the whole LE there, or is it that he was such a great ninja that he managed not to leave his DNA anywhere?
It's probably a mix of both, but at the same time, it's
the problem here is
so
that
confusing.
It's 5 years later. Had it been at the time, right? If Richard Allen got into his bloody, muddy clothing into his vehicle, and and all that stuff, but 5 years has gone by. That so much anything that they could have collected if it is him, that's just toast. Why? Because some morons couldn't remember that there was one guy on the trail that day and misfiled the file until 5 years later and stuff. Like, it's just all of it, from the calling off of the dogs, everything. Like, what can you say about this case where you're like, oh yeah, they did a fabulous job there. Everything is more about leaving sticks behind, and yet they're making it sound like like everything followed that's the word I was looking for before, CD's chain of command.
Yeah,
like
chain of custody.
Chain of custody, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
But so it makes it look like some, munchkin that's like 5'5" managed to elude all DNA, had the perfect crime pretty much.
And continue to work and live in that community where people who live in that community saw him every day at the only pharmacy in town. It's I don't know.
CD, go on your little bit of a rant there about the two weapons, a gun, and because you're having a hard time believing little munchkin there could have a gun plus use two weapons, and that one person did it. Not that it's not plausible, but your view on all of this with the Richard Allen. And
I've said it since day one. It's very hard to control two people by one person. And now you're taking it to an open area. Yes, it started at the edge of a bridge, but then you're taking them off the bridge. You're taking them down the hill, taking them across a creek. You're taking them up an embankment. There's a lot there. There's a lot there for that to be one person. Can it be true? It could be true. But you also have a guy who's 5'4", doesn't look to be in the best of shape, using a gun to, abduct. But then now you're switching weapons. But at the same time, when switching weapons, you might have racked the slide and dropped the round. Or you might have fired it, which I find to be ridiculous, and then have a malfunction when you did fire. Now you're clearing it. And when you do clear it, you just, fuck it, I'm going to leave the round there on the ground. You know what I'm saying? Or a third party was handed that handgun, and they didn't know it was ready to fire, loaded with one in the chamber, and they racked the slide, and the round fell. But then you go into the whole weird science of an unspent round and the striation markings on it. And that itself is, And you take somebody else that they did a search warrant on, that they took a 40 caliber out of their home and tested it. Oh, but also, wait, let me say this too. They I don't know what the reason was, but they did fire a round out of Richard Allen's weapon to try and go into the markings of the unspent round. And I don't think that lined up either.
Probably not.
So what are we doing? So that's my reason. That's my total reasoning of why I don't believe the unspent round is the deciding factor here, without a fingerprint on it that belongs to Richard Allen. That's my say. I got a lot of shit for that unspent round when it first came out, and I talked about it. A lot of shit.
I want to see pictures. I want to see. We should be watching this on TV. We should be seeing the, like the spent round.
Michelle said 2 little girls who were really scared. 100% agree with you. I agree with you. I'm just giving you the hypothetical, and go through the abductions of 2 people in the United States and find how many cases there are in an open area. It's very hard. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not saying it can't have happened that way. I'm just saying it's very hard, and the percentage is very low. That's all. And then
to get them up the embankment.
Yeah.
Could
he have injured one right away to gain compliance from the second? Yes. But then injuring is different than stabbing one in the leg, because you'd have blood somewhere. Nothing was found until ground zero crime scene. So it's, there's a lot there.
The clothes, and they said, yeah, okay, right. The
blood. Sorry, the blood pool wasn't
Sam,
in the same.
They would bring it to trial with having a smoking gun. They would, because people have wanted a trial since the girls were found. I'm not saying he's not guilty. I'm just saying you have to take everything and put it together and tell me if you have a slam dunk case. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Charmaine,
even the girls on the trail, they're going to get destroyed on cross-examining. It's going to be a rough day for them.
Mm-hmm.
And the amount of money this case is costing, I don't ever see a second one happening.
Yeah, I do. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Over $4 million. Where are they going to do this again? They're going to bankrupt that county. The county doesn't have any money. It's tough. This is tough. This isn't a ground ball. I said it from the beginning. People didn't want to hear it. Sister, if they knew, if the bandana was tied to him, I think we would have known that already. But we'll see. We'll see. Do we see any DNA experts? Are there any DNA experts on the defense list? Does anybody know?
I don't know.
No.
Ben might know, because Ben seems to know who's on that list. Ben, if you do know, let us know, because I don't believe I heard one was.
Ben's always on top of things. Go ahead, Ben. Watch Ben go. I'm out of here. Now, Charmaine, what were you going to say?
Well, I was just kind of thinking out loud to what CD was talking about, just controlling 2 victims, and just got me thinking that if you were going to be able to do something like that, you would think that the wounds would have been inflicted around the same area of the area. Do you know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't have been one pool of blood here, and then over by the so-called F tree, another pool of blood, and then another one way over here. I think it would have been more localized to one spot, because he had 2 people that he was trying to control. But Weber, if one of them didn't have any clothes on,
Weber had the same 40 caliber handgun.
Yeah, but they weren't. Yeah, I thought Saturday was left with a very interesting.
Yeah, because if you're talking about ejecting the round without firing it, just unspent, racking it out, the markings on it, I don't know. I tried it on one of mine, and I don't know. That's all I'll say. I don't know. I took a lot of shit for that round when that first came out, and I don't want to rehash it. No, Sonny, you have no idea. I actually took a break because of it. I got a phone call. I haven't talked about it. I got a phone call. That's all I'll say. Yeah. I was called. It wasn't like talking about that. That's it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Huh.
I got a lot of heat from that unspent round, and I see why. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Weber was not excluded. I know that, but I truly feel that an unspent round racking is junk science, because if the round happened where it was fired and it malfunctioned in the barrel and it turned around, those markings are going to be way different than a regular unspent round. So to me, I remember they said what did they say? What did Nick say the case is? It's something and a unspent round and a bullet.
Mm-hmm.
They're holding on to this bullet like it's going to be the My question is, with the gun store close by, did it sell the rounds that were in Richard Allen's gun? Is that one of their highest rounds being sold? And let's see if the defense has that information. Was it a federal round? What the round was it? Was it sold at XYZ? At how many locations was this? There's stuff that they should have did their homework on as a defense team.
Yeah.
And they might have that.
Collins. Chevy said, please let me call in.
He's got a lot to say. Why not?
We don't do call-ins.
All right. No call-ins, Chevy. Sorry.
We don't, I don't literally have that.
I know. I get why. And Chevy, there's a reason why. We've had people, pull out their schwanger and stuff.
Yeah. The only person that had a call-in thing was Adam. And I think we did it one live type of thing. Too many whack jobs out there. Now, sometimes.
I do like Chevy's viewpoint. He has a lot of info. He knows a lot.
Yeah.
Chevy, email me. analysisofcrime@gmail.com. I want to hear what else you know.
Yeah. Can't you pop them on your live over there?
I don't know. I'm in your live right now. It's just going to my channel.
He says bullshit, but the RA said RA's gun did not match. It's bullshit, but they said RA's gun did not match, and Weber's gun could not be dismissed.
He's right. Mm-hmm. He is right. And isn't that troubling though for them, that within a mile of the location they found the same exact gun and they couldn't exclude it?
Yeah.
That's a little strange, right?
Yeah.
Miss Dog said I'm crazy and let me call in. That's funny.
Well, I was gonna say, Chevy, if you want, you can email me at crimingshame@gmail.com.
Buckwheat, I'm not saying that the round is conclusive to a specific gun. Is what I'm saying to you is the round that was in the supposed gun, is it sold in every gun store around Delphi? Because that tells a story in itself.
Mm-hmm.
It does, because they're not man-made individually. They're made with a machine that probably has the same striation marks.
It's just, to me, and I just don't see the bullet being the end all unless it's got his fingerprint on it, and then there you go. But that hasn't been said. It wasn't in the probable cause. It wasn't in anything. So I don't think it's anywhere.
I'm going to pop off. I've got to go to bed, but I loved hearing what you had to say.
I was going to say, you got to get going.
Yeah.
Get some rest, Charmaine. Oh, are you there? Are you going to the trial? Have you been going?
No, I'm stuck working. Good
night.
But I will talk to y'all later. Thank you.
You got it.
Bye. Love you, Charmaine.
Love you, Nate.
Thank you. Okay. Copy. Okay. Chevy, I'll drop the link in here and you can pop up with us, but you have to do one thing. You don't
be a jerk.
Well, first of all, don't be a jerk. Secondly, you have to show your face.
Yes.
Behind
to her. You have to show your face to Sunny so she can make sure you're a legit person.
Yeah.
Because we don't want our live being wasted by a wacky call.
Don't waste it. Come on now. Right?
Well, he's been very informative this whole time, which I think
well, you can have your camera off, but when you come behind screen, you just have to show me your face.
You have to show you're a person.
Right? And not some guy that's going to dick roll me and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah? So
that's happened many times.
Because we don't do phone. I don't do Discord. I don't do.
So, remember that in the beginning of your channel? It used to happen often.
Oh, I know.
They'd make fake names. They'd come on and drop their dong. Like weird. So weird.
Yeah, I know. And I literally had that copyright strike until finally YouTube, years later, let us take a little schooling thing. Yeah, from that. So I dropped the link there. So you can pop on, show your face in the background, and then you can turn your camera off if you don't like being on camera, because we don't have a phone number or do Discord shit. Yeah, there's too many fucking psychos out there. Like, seriously. There's still the oddball that comes in here, you know. But
Hey, highlight that comment from the 3021 because he's right. It's true.
30 CD keeping
From
it
the 3021.
real.
Remember, I've kept it real since I came on here years ago.
Yeah.
It is what it is. You know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Did you want to play this video?
I was gonna, you know what, CD, get out of my head. Get out of my head, because I was gonna say, CD, let me just play this video, and if Chevy K, I'll say Chevy K over there wants to pop on, I dropped the link for you. Again, you have to show your face behind the scenes here. But yeah, let me play this out because it's not very long. It's like 4 minutes and 15 seconds.
Reported about an hour ago by Special Judge Fran Gull, and it was the first of what she has promised are going to be a lot of rough days, Max. That rough day got off to a start with the exposure and the production of those crime scene photos, which jurors saw for the first time.
Yeah, extremely graphic photos. I mean, to say the least. They basically showed, what investigators found when they got there and what we had reported previously. Libby was completely naked. Abby was clothed next to her. They both had their arms seemingly positioned in certain ways with sticks and branches laying over them. Libby's clothing, some of it, Abby was wearing her pants as well as her sweatshirt, some of Libby's clothing found in the river, along with some of Abby's clothing as well.
We heard several hours of testimony from Indiana State Police crime scene investigators, what they saw when they first walked up on the scene, the care they took to process that scene. One of the things, Max, that I found perplexing was, in the past, the state has tried to perhaps downplay the sticks, the branches, even some about the size of a log that were laying on these girls' bodies, and say, well, it's possible maybe they were there to simply disguise or camouflage them. I looked at those photographs. That was not camouflage. That was not disguise. Those were laid out in specific geometric patterns on those girls. That must mean something to the person who killed them.
Yeah, and they even asked one of the crime scene investigators at one point, they said, is it possible that could have been done naturally? And the crime scene investigator said it was likely not true. The big thing about those branches that came out today, and specifically the way the crime scene investigators handled that, was that the branches, which did have blood on them, seemingly from the girls, and were placed, obviously, as you said, in specific ways, they were taken off the girls, set to the side, then they were left at the scene. They did not take those back to be processed for anything. One investigator said that they have never been able to get DNA off of a surface like that. However, someone in state police leadership 2 days later told them to go back and get them, and they did.
Also, what they found after they'd been working out there for a full day is apparently what we've been told, the key piece of evidence that links Richard Allen to the crime scene, and that would be a darn near pristine bullet that one night an investigator looked down and said, what's that shiny thing underground?
Yeah, they were using what I believe was ultraviolet light. They said a blue light of some kind that they were sort of processing the scene with. One of the investigators was sort of standing back and said they saw something shimmering, shiny. They used a whole bunch of different words for it. And that's when they say they found that bullet. It was face down. You could see the picture face down in the ground, so you could only see the back of it. But the big criticism from the defense was that the crime scene investigators only took photos of it in the ground. They didn't pick it up. They didn't take photos of it, laying on a table or something like that. So you couldn't really see the pointy end of the bullet, which was a big criticism. And I think one of the defense attorneys said at one point that how can you tell that bullet is the same one that's going to end up in this courtroom if we can't see the full thing?
That is the bullet that supposedly connects a gun owned by Richard Allen to the killings. Now, while you were in court, Max, today another motion was filed by the defense. The defense would like to keep out at the very least the audio portion of the Bridge Guy video. We've seen Bridge Guy on Abby's cell phone walking across. We heard him say on their guys down the hill. At one point, we've been told one of the girls whispers, he's got a gun or gun. And the defense would like to keep that out because they say, first of all, it's kind of hard to make out. And second of all, we can't prove that is what the girl said, and that is what she was referring to.
Yeah, and that's very interesting. Also, the phone, I forgot to mention, was found under Libby's shoe under Abby's body. That was another big head-turning thing. We expect tomorrow. They were getting ready to bring out the actual clothes that they found from the river. That's what we think is going to happen, and that's where we think we're going to pick up tomorrow morning.
All right, we'll be.
Okay, so
There we go. Welcome, Mike.
hello. How are you? No,
Good. Thank you.
just Chevy Killer. We'll just leave it at that.
Well, you actually put your name in, Mike.
Yeah, I know when it is Mike. So,
What's up, Mike?
how are you doing?
How's it going?
That's good. You know,
I know.
it's a nice little Monday night do. So, we have this whole big picture, and we have all these people who said, we found the girls, right?
Yep.
But now they're saying somebody else found the girls. Well, why is there 70 days deleted of evidence? It's because the defense cannot actually question them and say, you said this, you did this. It's just been this whole smokescreen from the very beginning.
True. I get it.
So if me and you made a statement and we said, hey, we seen this and this guy was wearing a black shirt and he was this and he was that and all these other bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Well, we got a recorded interview. So we would assume that interview is not going to be deleted. Now, years later, somebody goes, well, hey, this is this and that and this. But you said this back then, so why is this not matching what you said today?
True. Yeah. I'm with you.
And
I find the lost evidence to be an issue, and the prosecution will probably bring that up on their side. It doesn't make sense when you think about it.
well, so
Yeah, you have interviews that were lost. Yeah, you have a lot of stuff.
I don't think the prosecution will bring it up because
I meant the defense. You know what I meant? I meant
the defense, right?
Yeah,
correct.
yeah.
Because it looks really bad for the prosecution. So, how does David Erskine find them, but then some other guy supposedly finds them, but David Erskine sees through his phone, and then the Weber sees through, and he sees two deers at all of. So, does anybody know what the pancakes actually really means in this chat room?
What do you mean the pancakes?
Okay, so pancakes is actually one of the Patty's best friends. The last name of the Patties, Banana Pancakes. Forget Banana Pancakes because we don't have no stomach contents because we don't have a time of death from the coroner.
Okay.
Pancakes is actually one of the most important people in this case.
Okay. Do we know who it is?
Pancakes, huh?
Who is the person?
Their last name is actually Pancakes. They are
Really?
very, very, very good friends with the Patties.
Okay.
So you had Kelsey tell us she got phone calls from grandma. She did. But Derek German, for the first time in 7 years, spoke the other day.
Yeah, he did.
What did Derek German say?
I don't know which part you're alluding to. Tell me. Tell me your theory.
German was the one who said the very first two people to show up at the crime scene, and they showed up together, was Cody and Kelsey. They showed up together. Becky.
But I thought Cody drove with Becky. Wasn't
exactly. She didn't. And Derek Germans testified that Cody showed up with Kelsey just a few days ago. So how many times is the story going to change?
Dude, I know. I mean, I know. I don't think you're alluding to the family was involved. I think you're just talking about the whole story itself is
I am talking in general about
ways.
the whole story. Correct.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how many times is this story going to change from the family?
I don't know. You know.
So the problem is we have people who went on record years ago, but we've now deleted all of this. So as all of this has been deleted, so there's nothing that can be, even though that there's articles and there's clips and there's videos and there's all these things that are out there because we know they're lying.
But Sister's saying that she believes that it was said that they crossed the bridge together, not that they rode there together. But I wasn't paying too much attention to that. I'm going to go back and look and see.
That is true. They crossed the bridge together. They didn't get to the crime scene together. They crossed the bridge together.
No. But Derek German stated in his testimony just the other day that Kelsey and Cody showed up together.
Yeah, but not at the crime scene. Not at the crime scene together. That's incorrect.
They showed up at the bridge together. They came together.
Right.
Cody supposedly showed up with Grandma, which we learned that's not true. Cody did not show up with Becky. Cody drove there with
Kelsey.
Kelsey.
Kyla's thing to see what Kyla said from when Derek testified. If she makes that statement, I don't know if that's true or not. I have no idea. To be honest,
I was going to say like that stuff's such old information in a sense that honestly, like it's like you know it at the time, but now it's so like honestly like with the freaking twists and turns of this case, hard to keep track of everything. But
hold on. Becky said she was at the house and made this, and she took Cody, and Cody showed up at the house. We know she is now lying because Derek German confirms that the two people who showed up together was Kelsey and Cody. So why were Kelsey and Cody together when she was supposedly going to work, see this, all the bullshit?
Now, but let me ask you on this one though. So I have to tell you first and foremost, we don't accuse the family of any wrongdoing in these crimes. First and foremost, that for us, that's one thing this channel won't do. Now, if there's inconsistencies, of course, Chevy, no problem talking about those.
Right. I'm not accused. The lies are the lies. That's the problem. The lies are the lies. There's no accusing any. It's exposing the lies.
I'm going back from day one of when he testified, and there's nothing about that. It just says Derek said he picked Abby up for a sleepover the night before and made banana pancakes for the girls' breakfast on February 13th.
Correct. So banana pancakes.
Wait, let me finish. Can I finish? He told the jury he left the home at 1:20 p.m. to take photos for appraisal properties in Frankfurt owned by his mom. Later that day, he went to pick Libby and Abby up from the trails, and they didn't show up or answer phone calls. Told the jury that the next day during the search, I just heard Mom screaming. I saw the coroner go by and about 12 cop cars, so I knew. That's all I got from that.
There's more to that testimony because
I'm sure there is. Because you got to remember, these are just the highlights that this certain person remembered. Because they can't record anything. It's just based off of the notes they're taking, and they're trying to get down as much as they can.
Yeah.
And other people had testified, or put out that he said they all went. There was 15, 16, 17 different channels who said, wait a minute. How did Kelsey and Cody show up when Kelsey was supposed to be going to work? And all that.
My question is, what do you feel the point of this is? That's all I want to know.
I was going to ask that.
Because I want to get to the other stuff we're talking about the gun, the unspent round. What is your point on this stuff?
Okay, so we've all been led to believe that Cody Patty was with Becky, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, according to Derek, the other day, Kelsey and Derek showed up together. So why were they in the same car? How did they get together when technically she was at her
My hypothetical is, let's say that did happen. What do you think it matters for the murders itself? Even if it did, I don't believe it did, but if it did, what is the point of it?
But well, they lied to us. So Derek
Well,
wasn't with Becky. He was somehow with Kelsey. And we know Kelsey was out there earlier in the day.
But
We
Kelsey
know
came. Don't we know that Kelsey came from the boyfriends because she was supposed to go to work?
She was supposed to have come from the boyfriends. So how was she with Cody? So this is all.
because
This is my point.
Yeah.
We were talking about other stuff. Why are we fixating on if this was true or not? What do you think happened that you'd think that this is a major point?
Okay, so why were all the people out there that they were only related to the Patties or to the Germans?
Well, they're the first ones
All
there because they're family members.
No,
missing.
no, no. All the people that were supposedly out there that day.
Like who?
Okay, so we can go like who?
I'm confused, dude. I'm serious. It's like 12:30. You're making me spin here. I got bad ADHD. I don't. Where are we going?
12:30.
Yeah, where are we going with it?
We can go. This rite of passage that Nick started out with and all the bullshit of the Monon High Bridge was never there. Anna said she had.
Sonny, I'm looking at you. You're making me laugh, Sonny. Mike, reel it in. Tell me why we were somewhere so far away from this. Now we're back to when they got to the bridge. Why? We were on the round. We were talking about Weber's handgun. Why
no. We can't. We was texting that and this and that. But what I'm saying is, we've been lied to. So yes, we can go into the Weber's handgun and all that stuff. Weber's handgun was not excluded. That's an absolute.
I'm going to ask you this right now, and I want an honest answer. Do you think Derek was involved?
Do I think?
Yes, you do.
You got to end it, Sonny. You got to end it on that. We can't do it. We can't go there, bud. I'm sorry. I can't do it.
No, I don't think.
You were about to say yes.
No, I wasn't about to say yes.
You were about to say yes.
Do I think he was involved with his daughter's murder? No.
I don't know. What are you're implying? This weird lie. I don't. Even if they got confused and this guy hasn't spoken in 7.5 years.
Exactly.
Well, because he doesn't trust people, and I could totally relate to that. And he doesn't want whatever he says to be misconstrued.
No. The family kept him away from talking ever.
Well, so I'm just going to say this. The bottom line is that honestly, Chevy, we're not here to discuss about Kelsey and if there's some things that were said and different stuff like that, because everything that's kind of coming out, what I'm hearing from you is that somehow you think that it's really odd that all the Germans were there and all this, and that it was some sort of conspiracy.
Whoa, but this isn't infactual. There was countless people there that were all friends with the family.
Yeah, but of course there would be.
That's very strange.
Why? If somebody's family member's missing, of course their family and friends are going to be the first people there.
No, sure, but within
a half hour. Yes.
Within an hour. No.
I would have 100 people there in 15 minutes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well,
I need some help. Somebody's missing. Yes.
You need some help. So I understand that, and yes, somebody would help and do whatever, but there wouldn't be this. And secondly,
Mike.
Okay.
Come on. Let's be honest here, Mike.
What did they say earlier
implying something.
There was almost 1,000 people. There was almost 1,000 people there searching. Did they not say that earlier today?
Yeah, there was a lot of people there.
Okay,
in the community I live in, if something like this happened, there would be tons of people there.
Okay, so let me.
You got to remember something, right? There's only 2 deputies in that entire county, and it's massive.
It's not a.
That's why all the volunteer firemen came out, because they needed bodies.
Right, and so did the volunteer firefighters for the floor 4, right?
What?
The floor 4?
Of course there were firefighters. It was a fire.
Right. So again, I don't have to go into Trust me,
Mike, you're killing me, Mike. I made Sonny bring you up. You're
listen, my
killing me
son
right
was
now.
killed 20 years ago.
I'm sorry to hear that. That's tragic.
Okay, so
That's
trust
tragic.
me, I know small town politics. Believe me,
I'm really sorry to hear
I
that.
fought small town politics for 10 and a half fucking years, and I don't even want to bring that up. But here's the thing: everything has changed. The story has changed. You know I'm not lying. You agreed. All this bullshit has changed. Why does the story keep changing?
Well, I'll say this though: Pat Brown was always said to have been there when the girls were found. So that's not a lie.
So was David Erskine's.
But we don't know that nobody's saying he wasn't there. They just haven't called him up.
David Erskine's says he said he was there. David Erskine says he found them. He was there.
Well, Dave Erskine's full of shit as well.
Oh, okay, so what happened to the 2 deer? What happened to all this bullshit?
So
yeah.
I don't want to fight with no. Look, I like all of you. You guys are all great. You have open minds. What happened? What happened to all the actual evidence? Where did it all go? Why are they lying to us?
Well, let's be honest. That they were in over their heads. That's one. Losing the data and everything else is bananas. Like that the citizens of Carroll County should be calling for a federal investigation on how this disaster happened. That's what they should be doing.
What are the feds going to do?
I'm going to butt.
What do you mean? They're going to get to the bottom of it.
I'm going to butt in. Chevy, you got 5 minutes on the live left, and then Gaming and Sleuthing wants to come up and ask CD some questions. So whatever you got to say in 5 minutes, do it.
Well, hopefully I don't have to. I can shut my mouth and sit here and just listen.
No, I gotta have control because honestly, it's 9:32. My husband's gonna want to go to bed within about an hour, probably time here. So in saying that, so get your 5 minutes in, and then I'm gonna let Gaming and Sleuthing come up.
No, you can let Gaming. I can bow out now. I don't have. I'm just curious what happened to all the evidence. Where did it go? Why is everybody lying? That's the biggest thing.
I don't believe everybody is.
Yeah.
And maybe they're not, but we have seen lies after lies after lies. So why?
Well, I don't even want to call them, like, I would say if anyone's lying about anything, it's probably the LE, not the Patty family. I don't believe that the Patty family is maliciously or trying to.
If you listen to what I said, I feel that the tip didn't come from the woman that works there volunteering her time. I feel it came from I feel it came from the debate. You know, it came from that debate. The retired Peru guy had that tip. That's my opinion.
What happened if Liggett lost this election?
He didn't lose the election because they made an arrest. Let's be honest.
Correct. So
let's be honest.
Had there was no arrest, what would happen? So where's the where's the actual proof of that?
Of what?
Where's the actual proof that Richard Allen said, I was there from 1:30 to 3:30, which more than likely we know that's bullshit.
On who?
So
he's killing
Richard Allen, Dan Doolin.
Yep.
We have no proof. He says, I electronically, and that lady, Sarah, whatever the hell her name, she has no access to the Orion system, which is a lie, and she magically came across it. So let's just say, how did they get this? Because he says you're lying. I said I left at 1:30. You say I was there at 1:30 to 3:30. But still, why is there no actual time of death? The coroner, who's going to testify, I believe, tomorrow, still to this day, on paper, there is no actual time of death. So when were they actually killed?
What are you implying with that one?
Yeah,
Well-
I get that because honestly, without the temperatures, the time of death, and stuff like that, it's kind of like it just goes along with a bunch of all the fuck ups with this case.
Yes, correct. And you can kick me out, lovely woman, for other people to come in the chat. I would just shut my mouth and not say nothing, and they can be in here, and I'd love to hear what they got to say.
I was
But
gonna say,
the coroner never produced a time of death. Why is that? This is critical because they say, "Oh, it was all over at 3:30." How the
Right.
fuck's it all over? How's it all over at 3:30 when you don't even have a time of death?
right?
Well, because I think they were going off. Weren't they just trying to go off the camera that they had in the back there with?
They didn't do any scientific. They did, as she said, they did not use no temperature. They didn't do this. That
I know
you
they
can
didn't.
test the lip. Why is there no stomach? Remember the banana pancakes?
Yeah, I'm confused on that part though. He made the
Because
pancakes
there's
at
no
breakfast.
banana
Yeah.
pancakes in their fucking stomach.
How do you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
I know because it's not in the coroner's report.
What they ate wouldn't be in the report. Come on, are we being real?
The stomach contents shows time of death.
Uh
That's how you know it's not.
huh.
And pancakes, I'm going to tell you again. There's a family that is very close to the pet. There's truth. There's a nugget of truth in everything that's said.
Uh-huh.
Pancakes is a
Let
family.
me ask questions.
It-
You think you know inside details with this pancake theory and these pancake people?
No,
Do you know?
there's-
Do you know of anybody else that was looked into that might
Oh, I
be
was
like
gonna
the
say,
Grim Reaper?
Why do
in a
you think
sense?
Why do you think David Erskines went to Texas? Why do you think he's not in Indiana anymore?
I know exactly why he's in Texas. Because he couldn't take the heat, so he got out of the kitchen. That's why.
Correct.
Yeah.
There's also Pat Brown at a point in time also left Indiana. He went towards where?
Yeah, but
Where did Pat Brown go? It's very interesting into where he went.
okay, now just so quickly, I'm gonna ask you one thing. Do you believe that RA is innocent or guilty? Or are you still unsure?
There's no evidence to support that Richard Allen had anything
Yet.
to do with this. That's
Yet.
the problem. Show me something he had to do with this, and I
Right.
can go, okay. How do you have how do you hide DNA? How do you have hairs with hair follicles literally wrapped in a victim's hand?
And not take DNA.
Exactly, but you spend $20,000 on DNA testing? Get the fuck! Come on, that's
Okay. Now, okay, Chevy, you got one last thing to say, and then I'm going to take you off and bring Melissa up. Okay.
all right. You're going to kick me out. You do what you got to do. Whatever you
Well,
want. To say.
I just need to have control. It gets too
Mike,
much.
I got to be honest. You stumped me, man. You killed me. You crushed me.
No, I didn't kill you.
No,
You're
you
awesome.
crushed me.
No,
You
no, I
crushed me.
love you and I love her and do this.
Yeah.
How about I just hit the mute button and let me listen? Don't kick me out.
I gotta. No, because I have to have control.
Dude,
and I don't,
you had me at pancakes. It was over. I'm so lost on the pancake family that you think Derek's bringing up making kids pancakes.
No.
because of the
I'm
family?
not talking about Derek. I'm not talking about Derek. I'm not talking about Derek at all.
All
What
right.
I'm talking about is their best friend, literally the Patty's best friends. They are best friends with a family named Pancakes.
pancake.
And that is true. That is absolutely 150 fucking million% true. So there is truth in everything that they say. There's a nugget of this and that. What really happened?
Well, that's what we're gonna listen to throughout the whole entire trial and see what evidence comes about, and then see what happens.
Right, but certain things are never going to be brought up because the fact is that. So how do you lose 70 hours of the most crucial crucial parts of this investigation.
Well,
Why?
and I get you on that. Don't get me wrong. We definitely realize all the fuck ups that have happened with LE and all the things that the defense can literally make them a laughing stock of along the way. But again, it will boil down to, regardless, at the end of the day, again, like if the evidence shows itself that RA didn't leave and they like again, it's still for me, my mind is just open. If he, like I think it's RA, but I'm leaving my mind open to hear all of the evidence that we do know, because we do know a lot more, like meaning for us that have followed the case for a long time, we do have a lot more, a little bit of that inside information that maybe that the jury might not necessarily hear properly. But at the end of the day, like I said, who said this, he said whatever. Honestly, like I said, I'm just here to listen to the evidence of it all, what they're going to provide, what the confessions involve, what the timeline. So if they can literally, the prosecution can literally narrow it down to that, we can prove that Rick was on this bridge and it had to be him through all the evidence, and it's found that he's guilty of that, so be it. But again, I'm like, meaning I'm tired. I've done with all the theories of shit. I just want to see what the evidence is in this case. And
Right. Okay. So can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
You got one question because I got Melissa down there waiting.
I got one or two questions, but let me ask you, why do you think Richard Allen did this?
Why?
Yes. What leads you to believe he did this?
Twisted motherfucker inside of his brain, like a lot of them, and he had some sort of weird fucking fetish.
Mike, I will say that he doesn't fit. He doesn't fit the typical profile, but that doesn't mean he didn't do it.
Profile.
So it doesn't mean he didn't do it.
No, he doesn't fit the. But so knowing there's no DNA, so I really knowing there's no DNA evidence, there's no digital for. He has no contact with the girls at all because we cannot at this point believe the defense is lying. There's no way they're lying because there's actual. Why would no prosecutor ever wants geofencing since 2015, since they've been doing it?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you want to exclude it from your case? Because geofencing 100% absolutely pinpoints and convicts you. They literally let bank robbers.
Because, like I said earlier, it's probably hurts them. It's logical.
No, I'm not saying you're not. I'm asking her. Because geofencing, they've been convicting bank robbers. So geofencing proves Richard Allen wasn't there, and they want it excluded.
Okay.
That should tell you, in general, this look. If I committed a crime, I would want my defense attorneys to fucking exclude that geofencing.
Right.
And say no, don't let it in.
Right.
And the prosecution
waiting to come on.
Chevy, I gotta pop you off now.
Chevy, it's been real, my man.
But
you top me off, you do whatever. Hey, I love talking to you guys. You have a great night. You do whatever.
Thank you. And again,
you're all cool.
Each to their own opinions, honestly, when it comes to this case, right? We'll see how it plays out.
I'm just saying, hey, it's what it is. You guys have a great night.
Okay.
Later,
Thank
dude.
you so much. Okay. And add to the stage. Okay. Now, Gaming and Sleuthing, you wanted to ask CD some questions. and thank you, Chevy. I know that everyone's I know so
let me tell you, that turned that's just we were talking about something totally else and it just went to minute one,
Yeah,
he went right to minute one.
Melissa,
well, hopefully mine won't be as bad.
Yeah, Melissa, do I need to check you first? Just kidding.
What's up, Melissa? What's up?
Okay, so I have a lot of questions and I'm not even sure where to start, but hopefully I'll ask them a little bit better than he did. Starting off.
He didn't
I'm
really
not
ask
victim
anything.
shaming.
He had a lot to say about
Not
pancakes.
law
I don't.
enforcement shaming.
First time I heard there's a family named Pancake in the Delphi area. That I don't know.
I
I'm
followed
lost.
this from the beginning. That's the first I've heard.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So as far as like the FBI goes and they kicked them out of the case, could the FBI not have forced their hand and said, no, we're staying on?
No,
Why?
because it's the state case. It's not theirs. They tried. They got pushed off. They did try to stay, and they tried to give whatever they needed. And
Well, the reason I asked that is
to me,
because
I'll tell you why, and
they-
I'll just say it again. The FBI was stuck on Ron Logan. The agents that worked the case on the task force were stuck on Ron Logan, and to me, that wasted 22 months of the case, and then they wanted to go their own way.
Yeah, that is true.
Well, I only ask it because the girls were initially abducted off of the railroad bridge.
Yep.
Railroad property is federal property. That would
Yeah, but that's
give
not federal property anymore. It's not an active bridge. It's not an active rail anymore.
Gotcha.
That's
Okay.
why Delphi did the work on the trail and also that new bridge they built.
Okay, that
You're
explains-
right though. If that was federal property, it would be a different story, but it's not.
Okay, so everybody's saying, and I heard it several times, they're saying, oh, the bodies were moved, and because of the way the blood was running on the legs, that they were moved. I do not believe that they were moved
They weren't
to
moved.
an extent.
They weren't.
And I
There's
might
channels.
be
There's
wrong
channels
here.
that still say it because they can't. There's a lot of people that never can admit when they're wrong.
And I want to add to that. So if he was to have lifted Libby's legs up, the blood would have flowed upwards, right?
Yes,
You know, when
that's
you-
my point. I think they were killed where they were found, but I think
Well,
he drugged her.
Well, yeah, we got to remember something. Okay,
Right.
if they're gonna have blood on their legs, they were standing when they probably,
Well, no, well, right, but the thing is that they were trying to say was that the blood was moving upwards on the leg of Libby instead of say downwards.
You got to remember they
So-
were also in a pitch. Her leg could have been elevated, and it,
Could have, yeah,
could be so many different reasons. But the amount of blood that was there, that's where it was.
And that's what I feel too, because if they would have been taken somewhere else and killed, there would not have been that amount of blood at the scene where they were
Yeah.
found.
Correct.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah, and the
Okay,
FBI
so
made sure to put that in Ron Logan's search warrant because I feel like they wanted to, dull the nonsense that was being talked about. So it was in there for years.
So as far as the phone goes, it doesn't make any sense. Again, going back to the bodies being moved because the kid.
No, because it said it was
Whoever that
pinged
would have been.
pinged all over town, is what you're saying?
No, it would have the person who unalived the girls would
Mhm.
have had to, if the bodies were moved, like people are saying, which I don't believe they were, but if the bodies were moved,
Mhm.
then the person who unalived them would have had to put that phone under Libby. They wouldn't have done that. So again, that tells me that they weren't moved. Am I wrong in that thinking?
No, you're not.
Like,
You're not. Because it wasn't in a pocket or anything. It was on the ground.
And by the way, I was right about that. So as we heard the news station say here, so in that one longevitated work of art, whatever, they said it was underneath the backside. They said a shoe and a phone was underneath. But so, like we heard them say in this interview, it was under Abby's shoe, the phone, and it had the. God, why can't I think of it again?
Which think about that for a second, right? Think about who had the phone on the bridge. Libby. And then it ends up under Abby. Did Libby hand it off to Abby and try to record something? You never know. You never know. I don't think he knew that the phone was there though. Because why wouldn't you just take it and throw it in the creek?
Well, right.
Think about that. You would throw it right in the creek.
I know, because you would think any fucking idiot would, if they saw a phone, they would like instantly, regardless, take that phone, just freaking throw it, get rid of it, not sit there and leave it at the.
You would just throw it in the creek. There's water right there.
Yeah.
Very hard to find. Very hard to find. You throw it in the water. It doesn't matter if it's only 3 feet. You're gonna that water's murky. It's creeks are like dirty water. Let's be real.
Yeah, and also Chevy and whoever else, we can't say that the blood was moving up the face. That seemed like, just theorizing about it all, because I've seen the crime scene photos that are out.
They're just
And
forgetting that, when that happens, it's just
yeah, and plus she
it's
had
a
it on a
hose. It's a hose. I think the artery was cut on Libby too,
yeah, but
and that's
right.
that's a fire hose. I mean, if it's
She
horrifying
was
what
cut
comes
so
out.
bad that she was almost decapitated.
Yeah.
So it would have
Yeah,
been
spraying.
Now,
You
what?
know?
And do you have another question there too, Gaiman, Melissa?
So as far as stick with the phone for a second, the defense seems to be making a big deal out of the phone turned off or didn't ping for so long, and then all of a sudden turned back on, and that's why they were moved. Yada yada.
Mm-hmm. Remember,
And I
it
get
was
what
under
they're
it was under her
saying.
body too. I mean, I looked it up. The iPhone 6s had a 250-hour standby time, so it would stay on. Even depending on how much battery it had, it would stay on. And
Well, I understand what they're
pinging's
saying,
not
but
with only 3 towers. It's very hard to get that signal. Especially underneath somebody. Think about that. They're laying their whole bodies on top of it. Not that it wouldn't, but it would take a little while to get a ping.
well, see, you kind of answered my question then, because I was going to ask, would the phone being under the shoe and being under Libby affect the signal?
Ping? Yeah, it's highly possible. Highly possible. Especially with it's limited. There was limited cell towers there. People still, I believe, didn't somebody go there, and a few people went there and had trouble getting a signal on their cell phone now today.
Yeah,
They can, so that's that just tells you.
Yeah, on there. And Julie Melvin isn't my rock, and that's not how I roll. Julie Melvin, sorry, her and Kelly Brown.
But they don't understand. You're talking about a massive amount of blood. Somebody's laying down, and they're tilted a little bit. The blood's going to flow that way towards their eyes, not down.
I mean,
It's just
we'll hear from
just the way it is.
Yeah, and we'll hear from
but they're all looking for like, oh yeah, they were moved by 4-wheelers. Stop the bullshit. It's so weird and aggravating.
Not only
But
that,
people, what the problem is? People love hearing weird theories, so that gets people views.
They do, and they do. That's exactly right.
That's what it comes down to.
My thing is this:
think about some of the people that are on that line every morning. Just think about that. They're not there for the real reason they should be. They're there for controversy.
So, and I was going to say, just one sec, CD on this one, because tell me to make sense of this. So the bodies were taken from the private drive, moved, phone goes off, their bodies were somehow placed back there. So their bodies are already there. So with
4-wheelers, because you can't drag them. They were 4-wheelers. Come on.
Well, I was going to say, so let's go stand her up near the F tree, create some blood splatter there. Let's go create a pool of blood over here, and let's just place them down over here. Like, that doesn't even make sense.
So stupid, right? It's so stupid, but that's
the only way that would make sense is if they literally took their bodies that were alive at 4:30 in the morning and go here, stand near this tree, slice, and then
think about the amount of people that were still out there at night, even though volunteer firemen went home, and a lot of people were still out there.
Okay, so I have just a couple more questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, as far as the clothes, it's not really a question. It's just kind of my personal feelings and statement as far as why Libby did not have clothes on and Abby had Libby's clothes on. It's a whole lot easier to put clothes that are a little bigger on somebody who's a little smaller, especially when they're wet.
True. My opinion is it was done for staging. It was done for staging.
It was a shock value.
Yeah,
that's why one was left naked,
and the other was probably just exhaustion, and I'm done. That happens. All the adrenaline just wears off.
So the geofencing, I don't quite understand what geofencing is. So does it pinpoint like where you're at? Is it like a better ping on a phone? What is it?
Let me give you the definition because it's just easier, right? Geofencing is using the GPS of the phone. Okay, But the definition is the use of GPS or RFID technology to create a virtual geographic boundary. So think of like the blurts, the circles, the location of that device. Like, do you have an iPhone? Do you have Find My on it where like you can see your family members?
No, I have Android, but I have like what's
you have
that one
something
called where it
right?
tracks you where you go?
Yeah,
Life 360.
like we could see where your kids are. That's basically geofencing in a nutshell. That's you're able to see the device. You're able to see the device moving. It's just it's the data, So when a device leaves a particular area, it will geofencing turn the lights off when you leave. Like that's part of geofencing. Like when you leave your location and your lights going off, it's using the same technology that the phone's using to create the data. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So why would they want that out? Wouldn't prosecution want that?
Why do you think that? Well, what if his phone shows him not there at that time? That would make sense, right? Why they wouldn't want it in?
Yeah, I mean that makes sense, but I would think they'd want the person who's truly
no.
And
listen, it's not a perfect science either. It isn't, because sometimes that location it's giving you is a lot bigger than it's supposed to be. Take Ron Logan's search warrant. In one of the FBI statements, he was on the bridge, but he was also on his property at the same time. That tells you how big that geofencing circle was at that time. It's not the perfect science.
Okay, that makes more sense than what I was thinking it was then.
Yeah, I mean
that's so the hair.
Mm-hmm.
That is one spot that I'm stuck, because I am a woman, and if I have hair on my hand, it drives me nuts and I have to get it off. So I'm to believe that the hair got wrapped around her fingers through her going through the crick, and through her being unalive, through her fighting for her life, through her being undressed, through everything that happened, that hair stayed on her hand. And they didn't think, oh, we should do DNA until last week?
Right?
Listen, you're 100% right. It doesn't make sense, right?
Okay, Grandmasaurus.
It doesn't make any sense.
That's crazy, yeah.
I don't have an answer as to why they wouldn't have. Especially that everybody they interviewed, they were taking DNA from.
Yeah.
It doesn't add up.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you have somebody who, I watch enough crime shows and was a medic long enough.
Oh, I'll be back. My little guy's up. Sonny, you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
My little guy woke up. I'll be right back. All right, bud.
Go ahead.
So you stab somebody, chances are you're going to cut yourself. You're going to nick yourself something. So they want us to believe that 2 different knives were involved and a gun were involved, but it was only one perpetrator, and he could or could not have cut himself. But the sticks that were laying on top of the bodies, which he would have had to pick up and put there, wouldn't have had his DNA on it.
Well, at the end of the day, I mean, I would think that even the dumbest criminal would frickin' be wearing gloves, for sure, right? But I mean, still, they didn't take the sticks till a few weeks later, and because they didn't find them significant, because they're fucking morons. But I mean, one would assume though that someone that knows that they're about to go commit a crime would have gloves on. That's just like fucking rocket science 101, don't you think?
Well, that's unaliving somebody 101, but we've already established that he's not the smartest or greatest crayon in the box.
Well, that's just the thing. But is it that he's not the smartest, or is it that LE has had mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake? That's because I wouldn't consider a little munchkin man there to be the brightest box, the lightest bulb on that Christmas tree there. But because when you have them saying stuff like, we lost, we taped over, so whatever it is, 70 days worth of evidence.
Yeah, 70 hours worth of it.
We called off a dog. We didn't take the sticks. We didn't take DNA off the hair of Abby's hand. Like, Holy,
they didn't take the F
yeah.
tree.
The F tree, they didn't take a sample because, well, I guess the pictures were enough. Pictures were clear enough, eh?
Well, they
Showing the
didn't even
blue.
take pictures of the bullet, from what I understand.
Well,
That's
that's just
crime
it.
scene 101 right there. Take a
Okay.
picture. You find
Right.
something. You take a picture. You mark it. You take a picture. You put a measuring thing next to it. You take a picture. You collect it.
Right.
You take a picture.
You would think. You would think of many of things, you know. So is it that Richard Allen is smart, or that there's so many fuck ups that they miss so many opportunities? I mean, look at, they've misplaced the file for how long to a guy that admitted to being on the bridge, that admitted to wearing the same clothes, and they couldn't find that file at all. And then 5 years later, all of a sudden, woo, look at that, we just found it, you know. But so that's why I don't want to give Richard Allen too much credit. More the fact of how many fuck ups there were that they could have, would have, should have done. Probably could have had maybe perhaps some blood in the vehicle, you know. So I mean, even with the testimony coming up from the witnesses, it will be curious because you got, you know, muddy, bloody, and then you have blue jacket, black jacket. You know, someone dressed all in black, someone dressed all in blue. You got light blue jacket. You got all these different cars at the CPS building, from the fucking purple Ford,
Yeah, it
whatever
went
you
from a
call
PT Cruiser to a smart
it.
car to purple to black to those
To,
cars
yeah,
don't look nothing alike, and those
yeah,
colors
like,
aren't nothing alike.
Yeah, how do you call a Ford Focus like an SUV? What? Like a Ford Focus is like an SUV, you know, to a Comet? Yeah, like so at the end of the day, all I feel about this case is that the prosecution better be able to have something in the, like, in the confession, that they can tie Richard Allen to that bridge. And I think it really comes down to this. I really think it comes down to the testimony of the witnesses, and if the jury believes that yes, this was the guy that had the gray hair, about 5'6", 5'7", you know. It is going to really come down to them sitting there going, okay, so we can't see a face on the video, but we can see that this person's wearing the blue jacket, blue jeans, and to whatever Richard Allen has admitted to. Because I'm going to be curious that the defense is trying to say that he wasn't there at 2:15 while holding up a phone, saying that the evidence is in the phone, and basically the prosecution's case is going to crumble once, you know, like the evidence of his phone's going to be shown. So,
but that's the thing. If they say that the evidence is in the phone, but then they don't bring the phone data in proving where he was at,
in the geofencing,
I'm not a prosecutor, but common sense tells me if I don't know the answer to the question, I'm sure as heck not going to ask it.
Well, I mean, I guess it will be curious because, you know, I mean, if they have the phone that he was looking at his fucking stock ticker, you know, and on the bridge. So if he has a phone that has him kind of looking at his stock ticker and what time he left out of that area, did he shut that one down? I don't know. Like, I'll be curious because I don't know enough about that whole technology of, you know, how, if they can tell if your phone, you know, I don't know about all that stuff. Like, whatever.
Well, I mean, like the newer phones, they can tell you if you fell. I mean, they can tell you, you know, you rolled 360 degrees and you got up on your left foot and all that, you know, but that wasn't the case back then. But I really don't see how they're going to prove it at this point without getting the phone information in.
You know, I was going to say, hold on a second here. I do have something that I was going to show tonight, but I don't think I have enough time to. Just give me a second. It's from my own channel here. Okay, let me just go to it. 1 second here.
Well, while you're looking that up, can I ask my last question?
Yeah, of course.
So the bandana, the handkerchief, whatever it's being called, like you said a while ago, if it was a face covering, it's going to have DNA from spit, from talking, and all that. But correct me if I'm wrong, didn't one of the witnesses way back when say that the guy that they passed on the trails had a bandana around his face. So wouldn't you think that you would DNA test that as well, since you have a witness saying, oh, so the guy we passed had a face covering on, like a bandana.
Yep.
And then there's a bandana close to the girls. Maybe we should test this for DNA.
Well, they would have to think to do that. If they can't think to do the hair, why would they think to do that? I mean, honestly, this case has been a fucking joke through and through. And to me, I've just been looking forward to this day to see what evidence that the prosecution has. So if they can nail Richard Allen to this crime and prove that he did this crime, not because I want it to be Richard Allen, I just want it to be, let the evidence show that Richard Allen could have been the only person that could have committed this crime, and they have the confessions and the evidence to prove that. And if they don't, then so be it. You know, I mean, again, this case has been so fucked up. I don't know, you know, my head in the ground on this one, how it's going to turn out. If it's going to turn out to be a guilty man that gets let off, if it's going to be a guilty man that's charged because he is guilty, if it's going to be that Richard Allen is not even the right person, I'll be curious to that. So, I mean, in front of me here, maybe I'll play this tomorrow. So basically this one has all the names, okay, of your witnesses. This is when they kind of fucked up and they put out all the names, but at this point it doesn't really matter because we already know who the victim, Betsy Blair, you know, Riley Voorhees, and whatever her name is, I think Anna somebody or another, on there. But the part that I kind of wanted to go to on this, and I think it's just a little bit later. So this is the PCA that has all the names, even names that sometimes people probably forget. So I might bring this one up tomorrow, but I wanted to go to, let's see here. Are we done? I'm just trying to see where it is. Significant agreement. Okay, wait. Richard Allen's firearms. Let me see.
Because
Here.
I want the real person who did this to be charged and to be convicted, because that's what's going to be true justice. And do I think Richard Allen did it? If I'm being completely honest, yes, I think he's the guy, but no, I don't think the state's going to be able to prove their case because law enforcement fumbled the ball so much.
Well, and that just might be true. Betsy Claire, 1 second, similar in nature, the stamps. I think it was, what I was trying to get was to the confession part. Just give me
confessions, though. The defense is probably going to say, well, he made the confessions after they fed him information during the interviews, and he, you know, that's why it has stuff that only the killer would know because the cops fed it to him. I think the timing of those confessions is going to be key to whether or not the jury puts weight in what he said.
Okay, so yeah, so let me see where this part's at with here.
Exercise daily.
1 second.
On April 3rd, this is where we get to the interesting part. On April 3rd, 2023, Richard M. Allen made a phone call to his wife, Kathy Allen. In that phone call, Richard M. Allen admits several times that he killed Libby and Abby. Investigators had the phone calls transcribed, and the transcription confirms that Richard M. Allen admits he committed the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. He admits several times within the phone call that he committed the offense as charged. His wife, Kathy Allen, ends the phone call abruptly.
Wow. Wow.
Hold on, we got to take a breather on that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I don't want to skip over it.
But did he say he committed it as charged, or did he give details?
Well, that's just what I was going to say. Okay.
And probably why he broke his tablet.
Okay. So it said, soon after, attorneys for Richard M. Allen filed an emergency motion to modify the safekeeping order. In that motion, the defense states that Richard M. Allen mental state has declined because Westville Facility, Correction Facility, whatever, is unfit and that he should be moved. Defense also makes allegations that his mental health has declined to the point where Richard Allen has been deprived of his constitutional rights. Richard M. Allen was wetting down paperwork. So basically, just to get to the bones of it again, is that Nick McClelland says that in the confessions, and this is where on the 3rd, right, where he tells his wife and his mother what he's done. Now, this is probably where all this stuff comes about, where he says about what's in the crime scene, because Nick McClelland said that basically he's basically said only something the killer would know. Now, so I'm assuming that those are in these start of the confessions, because it was only after these confessions he started having his mental breakdowns, losing the weight, all of that stuff. He wouldn't pick up, or he wasn't making any more phone calls, right? Because his wife, Kathy Allen, ends the phone call abruptly. And then, so for a while there, he's going through this whole thing. And then when was it? It's in here. But then soon after he sees like a psychotherapist or whoever it freaking is, then all of a sudden, he starts coming back to the way he was before the breakdown, after the confessions. So I think this is where it's going to bite him in the ass, is if it's in these part of the confessions, because these were, like they said, they weren't, forced. They weren't anything. He just willingly was telling his wife and his mother about the crimes that he committed multiple times. So again, only the killer would know. That's where this is going to come into play. If there's stuff in those recordings at the start there, before his mental breakdown that he was having, and that there was no coercion to tell his wife or tell his mother and stuff like that, that's going to seal his fate with the jury. If he talks about stuff about the crime scene that only the killer would know, then they're going to take that evidence about him being on the bridge, the guy in the blue, the bullet, and they're going to take all that with that and then find a guilty verdict. That's my prediction if it goes that way. What do you think?
Well, I can see it going that way, but I can also see the defense saying, well, he admitted to killing his wife and his family and his grandkids, and he doesn't have grandkids, and his wife is here in court, and yada, yada, yada. But just because he said that, he may not have meant literally. Could he have meant figuratively? I have destroyed my family because of what I've done. Thus, I've killed my family. They're no longer a family. He no longer has contact with his daughter. His wife has left her home and left her job. He's putting his mom through all this. Could it be he's talking figuratively and not literally when he says he killed his family and his grandkids? Meaning he's not going to have a connection with his grandkids if there ever are any because of his actions. I think the timing, what is said, is all going to be key to the confessions. And if the jury says that they believe the confessions, then I believe they're going to find him guilty. But I think if they say, oh, he meant it literally, they're going to find him not guilty, but yet I think he's the one that did it.
I think the big difference here is that there's a difference between willingly talking to his wife and his mother at the start of his incarceration, and then having this, after his wife basically hangs up on him and he goes through this mental breakdown, and then other confessions happen after that, especially if he's talking to his attorneys and they're trying to, of course, they're like, fuck, the guy literally confessed. How do we throw this out? Well, so he throws those confessions in there down the road. Yeah, I killed my whole family. I did this, because they're not going to, what I mean? They're going to try to take away from that. So whether Richard Allen, I'm not saying that Richard Allen isn't got some Fruit Loop shit going on in his brain, but at the start of when he was incarcerated and brought over, right, he willingly said those. So those other crazy Looney Toony confessions might not even come into play when they realize that he was determined as not having any mental health issues, by the freaking doctor there. That he didn't need the whatever it was, the medication. So do you see where I'm saying is that, at the start, confessions. So if those are the truest confessions and they have the most detail in them, and then you got some psychobabble going on throughout it, knowing full well anyone taken from their wonderful land of freedom and then placed in a freaking prison, and then, obviously if they're trying to get those confessions thrown out, you don't think that someone's going to play that card? That's what I'm kind of saying, is that those confessions would have happened after the fact. So to me, what's going to count the most is kind of like the crime scene or whatever, everything that kind of happened at the time. And these confessions, if they hold weight, will give that evidence probably that I'm thinking about specific details about the crime that will convict his ass. And he can be a Looney Tune and confess 59 other times. But if he said that one thing that literally can place him at the crime that only the killer would know, to me, he's lost if that's the case.
Okay, well, let me ask it this way. I don't quite know how to ask it. Sorry, I'm tongue-tied.
Oh, no,
here.
go ahead.
Is it possible for either the prosecution mainly or even the defense to say, okay, we want this confession number 3 in because it gives details only the killer would know, but we want confession number 23 out because he says he killed his family and he didn't kill his family. Is it possible to get one confession in but not the other ones? Or is one in, they're all in? How does that work?
Well, I was going to say, I mean, I've heard it be talked about on other channels. There are at least one other channel anyway, about that. And I remember, I think it was Laura Lee that said that it was kind of noted how he said 61. They said 61 confessions, but Nick McClellan said multiple confessions. He didn't use an exact amount. He just said multiple. What do you think about that, CD? And welcome back.
About how many of the
Well, just about the fact of, so the thing that I just played was about him confessing to his mother and his wife. Now that would have been on April 3rd, right at the start, right? And then he goes into his Looney Tune shit after the wife hangs up, doesn't make out any phone calls after that. So, and then there's there's 61 confessions total. Like, do you think that some of them they can omit versus having other ones brought in, or do they basically kind of have to show them all and show out the ones?
I think the defense is going to want them all to be shown.
Yeah,
because there's some questionable ones in there. With the stuff that he said. We talked about it earlier. How he said that he shot them both in the back, that he assaulted both of them, that he buried them in shallow graves. All stuff that doesn't apply to this case.
Mm-hmm, right.
And those are the confessions I think the defense is going to want in and the prosecution's going to want out. And then the prosecution's going to want the ones where he's knows details only the killer would know.
It's a pissing match
there.
Yeah,
it's a pissing match onto what they're going to get in and what they're not.
Yeah, exactly. You guys, I'll go over this this whole PCA, or if you guys want to watch it yourself, you can just go to watch it. Just type in Delphi Docs are here on the channel, and you guys can go find this. You can see the PCA with the names at the 59-minute mark is when Aspen starts going through it. And then it moves right into the confessions after that, and about how, Alan started confessing here. Then he went into a state of wetting paper and eating it and stuff like that. And then after he's seen the doctor, whatever it was, the psychiatrist, then he started acting basically back to normal like he was before the loony spin stuff on it, But CD, would you might not agree that when Alan confessed, right? Mm-hmm. And his when he got his lawyers, they were like, oh, fuck, how are we going to wheedle these ones out of here? So they were really trying to get those confessions talking about his mental state. Now, do you not think that some of those confessions after that were purposeful to off-ride?
It could be very possible.
These truer confessions, we'll call them.
I mean, I truly think that he was mentally broken at a point in jail.
Mhm.
That's my opinion, but I do believe it. It does
Oh, I'm
happen.
sure there was a point for
You know,
sure.
it does happen.
But
I
I
know
do. I
people. There's
fully
some that don't
believe
even want
that
to
it's
hear that,
going.
but it does happen.
Mhm.
I
Go ahead.
fully
Sorry.
believe it's going to come down to how much weight the jury puts into the confessions. I don't think this is going to be decided by a bullet. I think it's going to be, how does the jury view the confessions, whichever ones come in? Because if I'm the prosecutor, I'm not going to bring 61 different confessions. I'm not. I'm going to pick
Prosecution
and
won't.
choose. And
If
then the defense is going to pick.
if that bullet was a fired shell casing with markings, much
Maybe.
different than the unspent round. Much different.
Well, let me ask you this, to both of you guys. So the confessions were brought in. What if these confessions, so before he confessed, he was already being charged. Do you think that if they didn't have confessions, that honestly it would be a crapshoot pretty much based on,
I think it's still a crapshoot.
yeah.
I do. Because you're going to have counter confessions there. Unless the information he gave is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
What do you have there? You don't have anything. You know, it's.
Mhm. I mean,
I said this from when he was arrested to their press conference that Halloween day to everything else that's going on since, that this wasn't an easy one. You know, this is not an easy case.
No. It's not
Okay,
nothing.
so
Oh, this has
sorry,
been easy.
Sonny.
No, I was just gonna say nothing about this case has been easy.
This is, this happened, yes, 2017. No DNA to link him to the crime scene.
Sorry, Melissa was gonna say something there. Sorry,
Okay.
Melissa.
I don't remember exactly what I was going to say because I had two things left and I only remember one of them. So I watch, like Snapped and the first 48 and stuff like that. And they bring in this little machine and it like scans the area and it makes a like blueprint, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Of the scene.
Yep.
I know that Indiana is a broke state. I know that they've spent like, what is it, like $4 million on this trial. That's what I remembered.
Yeah, it's like 4.3 million.
Why did they
some
not?
Crazy number.
If the state police were helping, why did they not bring that in at least to show something? And if the jury comes back hung jury, they can't make up their mind, do you think that they will waste the money to try him again?
No.
And I don't mean waste the money.
I don't think the county can afford to retry this again. That's just my view. But even back in 2022 when they were talking about funding and everything else, it was going to be hard to do. They're doing it once. I don't know how they're going to do it a second time.
So if the jury comes back hung and the state or the county or whoever, the state of Indiana is the one charging him, and they don't recharge him, like retry the case, does he just go about his, is that essentially that he's not guilty, or how does that?
If they decide not to go for a second trial, it's over.
Yeah, it's over. Yeah,
it's over. It's like what's that case? What's that case in Massachusetts? The woman that ran over the cop supposedly, Karen Reed. Yeah, they're trying that one again, but it was questionable if they were gonna. But they're trying that one again. I don't see them having the money to do this twice. I just don't.
Does jeopardy attach if it's a hung jury?
No, it's the first time. Oh, hung jury? No. That's different. You're talking about double jeopardy. No,
yeah,
hung jury. It's they could try him again. Who'd they try like 3 times? Who was it that they tried like 3 times? I forget. Didn't they try somebody like 3 times from a hung jury? 1 hour 12. I give the girls so many coats.
This case is giving me Stephen Avery vibes.
Yeah, this is a weird. This is It's been a weird one from day one. It has.
Yeah.
Floyd County tried David Cantor. Yeah, no, I mean, I just don't know where I think the county would want to. I just don't know if they really have the funding or not. I mean, they're riding with a skeleton crew as deputies, 2 guys on the road in a massive county. Just they don't have a lot of money.
You're not thinking of David Cam, the one that they tried 3 or 4 times.
Somebody said Floyd County tried David Cam 3 times. I don't even know what David Cam is. Who is he?
David Cam supposedly killed his wife, and it was a screwed up case.
Is that where they had like they actually had a lot of evidence against him, but they couldn't get him?
Yeah, they did.
I knew the case. I don't remember the name.
He was a CO, and there was a sweatshirt that I don't remember if it had blood on it or if it had the weapon wrapped in it, and it came back. It was from an inmate and all kinds of stuff. It's kind of an interesting case, but it's an old one. But I'm going to get off here. I just had those questions, and I wanted somebody to answer them that knew a little bit more than I know. I mean, I know quite a bit about crime, but some of these I just can't wrap my head around.
It's always nice to have, like, when CD and Alexa and stuff, criminal profilers, retired police officers and stuff like that. Stuff that, that they can help out with details that we just simply don't know. Like CD, obviously, like I said, talking about, and Alexa too, with crime scenes and their different experiences and expertise and stuff like that. So it's just that.
When is Alexa coming up? Is Alexa coming up now? She's here hanging out. Where are you, Alexa?
I don't know. Does Alexa, do you have a little bit of time? No longer than half an hour?
Well, I'm going to hop down.
Okay, thank you
so
much
for answering my questions and letting me talk through it. That's why I said it was too much to type.
Yeah, all good.
Yeah,
no
I
problem.
know. All right. Chevy and gaming there. Thank you guys for giving your thoughts and opinions on stuff. Even if people don't agree, again, everyone's still entitled to their own opinion. But I have to always insist, though, that the one thing we don't do is talk about the family for blaming or thinking that they had any involvement in it. If anyone had any involvement in this whole shit case, it's the LE and how they've handled it. And definitely there's always going to be inconsistencies and stuff like that. But it's a matter of real, like keeping it real, right? No sisters.
Gotta keep it real. I don't know what happened before. I vowed, let's put him up, and he just went to a different level with going to step 1. He was going for the minute 1. I get it. People have questions. I get it.
And I do too, because a lot of people follow like inconsistencies, but at the same token, I just kind of look at the whole package of it. Does it seem like who cares for me if Cody came with his sister or came with Becky or whatever? Like thing is that memories, when you've literally and I can put this, like, if someone takes a child, Chevy, do you have children, by the way? Just to ask you, when you have a child,
I believe he said his son was murdered.
Oh, so I didn't hear that. He
said his son was murdered. I don't know if he said 10 or 20 years ago. He said his son was murdered. I didn't really want to get into it. That's a tough talk, so I didn't want to pry, but he did say that, and he dealt with small town stuff.
Yeah. So prayers on that one. Because there's a lot of people too. There's some people that have come up that have definitely talked about their private stories like that. Even Charmaine has talked about stuff like that, and with her brother. And anyways, so appreciate.
That's the problem. Crime has no bounds, man. It hits every family.
Yeah, Alexa disappeared. She's not here. Alexa. She's
probably like, are they really thinking I'm coming on at 1:30 in the morning?
I was gonna say, it's like, for me it's 10:30.
I know, it's late. It's late here. I'm getting ready for bed soon.
Yeah. Tawny. Well, Alexa, I can't now. Yeah, I'm multitasking. I'm getting ready. Well, Friday, Alexa's going to be joining us for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, on Friday, we'll do a live. So if you have time to come hang, even if it's just for a bit, CD.
Yeah, I'll probably pop on.
Yeah, it's always nice to pick your guys' brain. Anyways, you know what? So let's call it a night, I guess, eh? Unless
let's do that.
Yeah, at the end of the day, CD, thank you so much for coming on
No problem.
tonight.
It's good
I
talk.
missed you, buddy.
I know. I miss hanging out.
You know,
I miss hanging out.
I know that, like I said, my life's been busy and stuff like that, but
Same
you
here.
know, yeah,
I feel like I'm just juggling, but it's fun.
I still remember when we met. We met on
Sleuths.
channel.
Yeah, Sleuths. Yeah. True.
But no, it's always
switched
a
it
pleasure.
up. Look at this little.
What do you got now?
Ginger ale.
Ooh, Canada Dry.
It's good stuff. No, ginger ale, it's great. Look, Canada. Canada. Yeah, see, I'm drinking your native drink. Where is the damn thing? Here we go.
I'm drinking Splash Water. This one is
nice.
It's like just 0 sugar, but I think this one's multiple berry, but there's like lemon and stuff. Anyways, I like them. Just, it's like having water, but you got that little bit of taste.
Yeah, you got that little something. I struggle drinking water. I always did. I'm a kid. It's like, fucking hate water.
When it's freaking hot outside.
Yeah, when it's hot. Yeah, no, that's true.
It amazingly.
That's true. But I like cracking a soda now.
Mine always have to be diet, sadly, because of diabetes.
No, I don't drink regular soda. I haven't in 25 years. It's just too much sugar. It really is.
Oh, honestly.
And now like I drink one, I'm like, whoa, like a Pepsi. Wow. It's like getting punched in the face.
Yeah, especially if you're like diabetic, you have those little sugar spikes and kind of makes you feel like out of touch for a second.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, you probably go fucking flying from a soda. That's got to be trippy.
Anyways,
so what time are you going on Friday?
I would say probably around 6:30ish, 9:30
Eastern. Yeah, I could probably do that.
Yeah, right. But again, so if you can, you can. If you can't, you can't.
Well, I'll be around. I'll definitely be around. Friday, I don't have any soccer games, so I'm around.
Yeah, I mean, and by then we should have a whole bunch of juice to talk about as well.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see Adam by then. I know he's laying low in Indiana a little bit. It's a lot to take in over there too. So hopefully we see him soon.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm Adam. For anyone that's calling, like Adam did message me today, but yeah, I mean, I'll talk to him soon. But he's definitely struggling with.
That's a lot to take in, it is. Everybody's got to think about it because, like I said from the beginning, it's real, and he's seeing families' emotions and everything else. That's a tough task. I give him credit for being there. Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure that he has talked with Carrie. I would probably bet. So, I'm pretty sure he's probably talked to Carrie, and obviously being around Libby's mom. I get it if you're in there and it's emotional stuff, but
yeah. I can only imagine what she's going through because she's kind of alienated from all of them, and it's tough. Yeah, not easy.
I was gonna say, and then all these years, 7.5 years. And then, like I said, what I feel so bad about with the CD is that this case has been nothing short of a disaster in so many ways. Yeah. For these families, and
she was treated like shit by law enforcement, like absolute shit. Yeah. She was being the mom. I know she lived in a different state, but that's the mom. It doesn't matter. She carried that kid. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So anyways, first go out to the families. Okay, CD. Yep. So thank you, Chevy. Thank you, Gaming. Thank you, everyone that's that joined us tonight. Please hit that like and the share button. Thanks for everyone that joined in through CD's channel as well. Yeah. And you can do that next time too.
That'd be cool.
Hit that.
Why not?
Hit that stream to your channel thing going on. Yeah, anyways, cool. You guys have a great night.
Yeah. Night, everybody.
Thanks so much. Thanks. Night, Alexa, as well. Night, Buckwheat.
Yeah, Buckwheat. Good having you, man. We'll see you Friday.
Bye, guys.
We bring people in. It's good. It's a good thing.
Yeah, of course.
He actually said he found it in the algorithm. He didn't even know where he was. I guess he was just scrolling through. He was scrolling through YouTube Live, and my channel popped up to him, and he just watched. And he's here. He's subbed to you. He subbed to me, and I think he was trying to find Charmaine. But very cool. It's very cool.
Thank you for subscribing. Yes, we just try to keep it real. No inflating shit.
No nonsense. No nonsense.
Yeah, no nonsense channel. Anyways.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Take care, guys. Bye.
One more sick night. is cold. We stand surrounded. We are not alone. Within my reverie, there's hope.